only city facing an uptick in violence. Portland is even trying to attract tourists after months of chaos by taking out full-page ads like this one that was in Sunday's New York Times. More on that, other major headlines this evening. We bring in tonight's Dream Team panel. Fox News contributor, syndicated radio talk show host of The Leslie Marshall Show, Leslie Marshall. And Fox News contributor and host of Jason in the House, the Jason Chaffetz podcast. Jason Chaffetz, great to have you both back.
Thank you.
Good to be here, Shannon.
Okay, we have a couple of sides of the argument about what's causing all of this crime. You'll hear first from White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki, and then former Detroit Police Chief James Craig, who may make a run for the governorship there.
Yes, we believe that a central driver of violence is gun violence and is the use of guns. We're seeing that statistically in a lot of areas.
Well, Jason, what do you think there? Because you heard in Kevin's reporting, too, there was a Fraternal Order of Police spokesman who said we're not even enforcing the gun laws that we have now.
Yeah, when I was in Congress with Trey Gowdy and John Radcliffe, this was a big issue we kept bringing up. Why don't you, the Department of Justice, actually enforce the laws that are already on the books? So if Joe Biden tomorrow is going to put out a dragnet to try to curb back gun trafficking, hey, I think he'll have support on both sides of the aisle. If you try to blame it on Republicans and say, hey, we need more laws on the books and we're going to restrict law-abiding citizens from owning their own guns, then I think you're going to get a lot of pushback. The common denominator in all this, Shannon, these are Democratic-controlled cities. They don't enforce the laws. And why not put people in jail, enforce the law, get rid of cashless bail, and do those radical things like take criminals off the street? Try that for a change.
I mean, Leslie, you know, we've reported here people who've gotten out on bail, who've gone on to commit other violent crimes, prosecutors who say we're just not going to prosecute entire, classes of crimes anymore, mass retirements in police forces. I mean, there seem to be a lot of issues that don't have easy solutions. What would you like to hear from President Biden tomorrow?
Well, I'm glad that you said that, Shannon, because that's one of the things. This is a multifaceted problem. Jason, you know I love you, but just to point to a party or to a city and claim they're all liberal, that's not true. Fort Worth, Texas, Miami, Florida, Jacksonville, Florida, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, the list goes on, where you have a GOP Republican mayor and you have a GOP Republican governor in a red state where they didn't defund the police and they didn't do things that people think the liberals have done in their cities that have brought about this crime. Criminologists that know a lot more about this than I do and that I've had on my radio show have said it's a number of things, Shannon. One, summer season. Two, post-pandemic. Tempers are high. People are out of work. People don't have homes. And we've just come out of this pandemic. In addition to that, we do have more guns on the street. And for some, defunding the police was a problem in certain cities. It's not just one thing. And I think everybody can see with regard to guns, the polls have shown that the majority of people, nearly unanimous, it's over, nearly 100%, 98% agree with universal background checks and some other measures they think that could be helpful to help police in their policing.
But when you hear people on the front line saying what we have on the books is not being enforced, like Jason said, I think there would be bipartisan reform or support for saying, yeah, let's crack down, let's arrest, let's give real jail time, let's do some things. And I know the DOJ is getting out there with its efforts to crack down on gun trafficking, and hopefully that helps as well. I want to make sure that we get a comment from you guys on this fight over the filibuster, because today this massive election procedures bill did not make it through the Senate. It didn't even get started because it just couldn't get the votes to get through that procedural hurdle of the filibuster. Now, I want to ask you, if you know, feel free to jump in with a guess. Who said this? A host asked them, what about doing away with the filibuster? They said, well, I can tell you that would be the end of the Senate as it was originally devised and created going back to our founding fathers. The opponent of getting rid of the filibuster, any guesses?
I can think of people on both sides that would say that. Of old.
Okay, we'll play it for you. One of the top Democrats in the Senate,
you worked with them more than I did.
That was back in 2018. Where the same thing tonight. Senator Markey, Democrat, tweeting tonight, the filibuster is a threat to democracy. Back in 2017, he signed onto a letter with dozens of Republicans and Democrats asking the Senate leadership, McConnell and Schumer, not to get rid of the filibuster. Where are we tonight? Quick comment from you, Jason, and then Leslie, and we got to wrap it up before we get cut off.
Flip and flop. It just depends who's in the majority. But I got to tell you, I think the Democrats are wrong. And hats off to Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin for holding their ground and saying, yeah, they believe this is good public policy. I think it is right to keep the filibuster.
Leslie, we do have the Google machine. We can go back and see what people have said, Republicans and Democrats.
Yeah, I would agree. Jason, we agree on that. We agree on flip-flop, and whoever's in power, they want to do it. Here's the problem that I have, because I'm a pessimist, okay? I don't like the filibuster. It's not in the Constitution. Elections have consequences. The party in power should have their power, should have their agenda. But if the Democrats do this, it will come back to bite them when they're not the party in power. And we've seen both Democrats and Republicans take the lead throughout history, and I think it will continue.
Yeah, I think you're right. The party in power always has to think about when they're not in power, and I think that may have to do with some of these choices right now. Okay, Jason and Leslie, thank you both very much.
Thank you, Shannon.